The 2010s were a long decade filled with controversies, tragedies, and triumphs. Looking back, it's crazy to think that all of these events happened in one decade alone. I'm about to count down the top 10 craziest news stories of the last decade here for you on I.O. Welcome back to InformOverload. We do the news, we spill the tea, and bring you the most interesting and entertaining trending content on YouTube. And she's humble too. I'm Charlotte Dobre. Subscribe so we get to hang out every day and follow the I.O. team on social media. I just want to say that while I was researching this, there were so many defining moments of the last decade. A vast majority of them I actually got to talk about on this channel. Of course, certain events are always going to affect everybody differently, but this list is just a compilation of all the world events that defined the 2010s for me, and hopefully for you too. If you guys think any other events should be on this list, let me know in the comments. Maybe we will do a part 2. In at number 10, Julian Assange turns himself in. On December 8th, 2010, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange turned himself in to the British police after a warrant for his arrest was made by Sweden in connection to a rape accusation. He denied the allegation and said it was simply a way for Sweden to get him extradited to the US so he could be punished for publishing information embarrassing to the US government. One of WikiLeaks' most notable leaks included the release of 20,000 Democratic National Committee emails and 20,000 from Clinton campaign manager John Podesta. The emails suggested that the DNC preferred Clinton over Bernie Sanders, and some of the emails mocked Bernie Sanders, and also that Clinton was given campaign debate questions in advance. Assange remained under asylum at the Ecuadorian embassy in London for 7 years before his asylum was withdrawn in April of 2019. He was arrested by British police, but then the Swedish authorities dropped the rape investigation in November of 2019. In at 9, we have the death of Osama bin Laden.
I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda.
On May 1st, 2011, Barack Obama announced to the United States and the world that wanted terrorist and mastermind behind 9/11 Osama bin Laden had been killed after a Navy SEAL raid at the Abbottabad compound in Pakistan. The raid was years in the making. In 2007, US intelligence found out the name of one of bin Laden's most trusted couriers. The area of Pakistan he lived in was found out in 2009. In 2010, US intelligence discovered the exact compound they were living at. The compound was built in 2006 and was suspicious because it was surrounded by barbed wire, and it was a huge compound compared to other houses in the area. While it didn't have internet service, it likely cost close to $1 million. Way too costly for a courier and his brothers to afford. The 24 residents of the house burned their trash rather than having it picked up. And then on April 29, 2011, Obama gave the order to raid the compound. The operation took 40 minutes, bin Laden was killed by a gunshot wound to the head, and bin Laden was buried at sea. In at number 8, we have Conrad Murray found guilty. On November 7, 2011, Michael Jackson's doctor Conrad Murray is found guilty of involuntary manslaughter in connection with the overdose that killed the King of Pop. He was convicted of improperly administering an anesthetic drug called propofol that ultimately contributed to Michael Jackson's death. Just weeks after Michael hired Murray, Michael Jackson died because of a lethal dose of propofol administered by Murray, which was given to treat insomnia. Murray insists that he tried to give Michael other drugs, but Michael insisted. Michael was addicted to propofol as a sleep aid. Murray didn't have training to administer anesthetics. The great Michael Jackson might still be alive today if it weren't for this accidental overdose. In at 7, we got the Boston Marathon bombing.
Just before 2:50 p.m., this is the viewpoint seen by many of the 26,000 marathon runners who are approaching the finish line.
During the annual Boston Marathon in April of 2013, 2 homemade pressure cooker bombs blew up near the finish line, killing 3 people and injuring 250 others. 16 people lost their limbs. The FBI identified the suspects as Dzhokhar Tsarnaev and Tamerlan Tsarnaev. When they were on the run, they killed an MIT policeman, kidnapped a man, and there was a shootout with police. Tamerlan was shot several times and his brother ran over him with a car while trying to escape. He died soon after. The manhunt for Dzhokhar began on April 19th. Thousands of officers searched for him in a 20-block radius of Watertown. He was found by a resident hiding in a boat in his backyard. He was shot and wounded by police. During questioning, Dzhokhar said that he and his brother were motivated by Islamist beliefs and the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. It was also in their plan to bomb Times Square. He was convicted of 30 charges and sentenced to death. In at number 6, we have Black Lives Matter. In July of 2013, the Black Lives Matter movement began when George Zimmerman is acquitted. In 2012, Zimmerman shot black teen Trayvon Martin after he thought he was an intruder in his neighborhood. Martin lived in that neighborhood. He was coming home from a trip to the convenience store where he bought an iced tea and candy. Zimmerman was acquitted of second-degree murder and manslaughter, sparking a national outcry and the treatment of black people, specifically black boys. Halfway there now, at number 5, we have the disappearance of MA Flight 370.
What happened aboard MH370 is as puzzling as it was unprecedented. About 40 minutes after takeoff, it disappeared from radar. its transponders stopped broadcasting.
In March of 2014, Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 mysteriously fell off flight radar while traveling from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. 239 passengers and crew were on board. To this day, no one knows what happened to the plane or how it crashed. But there are theories revolving around hijackers as well as the mental state of the plane's captain, who may have been suicidal. At the time, it was the deadliest incident involving a Boeing 777 ever, and the search for the missing plane was the most expensive search in the history of aviation. Parts of the plane washed up on islands of Southeast Africa. But to this day, the disappearance of Malaysia flight MH370 is still the most mysterious case in the history of aviation. At number 4 on our list, we have the suicide of Robin Williams. I cannot even think about this one without getting emotional. In August of 2014, beloved actor and comedian Robin Williams was found dead in his California home. He was 63 years old. The cause of death was asphyxia and hanging. Suicide. An autopsy report confirmed that he had antidepressants, caffeine, and Parkinson's drugs in his system. Even though he had a documented history of depression, his wife and assistant never thought he would commit suicide. There are few entertainers who were more loved than Robin Williams, and it shocked me and many others to know that while he dedicated his life to making other people laugh, he was so deeply unhappy himself. In at 3, the rise of the Islamic State.
The brutal murder of Jim Foley by the terrorist group ISIL. Jim was a journalist, a son, a brother, and a friend.
In August of 2014, James Foley, American photojournalist, is executed by beheading in a video recorded by ISIS in Syria. The video was called A Message to America. It was posted to YouTube and later removed. It showed Foley wearing an orange jumpsuit stating that the US government were his real prisoners before he was executed. The video marked the rise of ISIS and the war in Syria. In at 2, we've got Me Too. Movie producer and the most powerful man in Hollywood, Harvey Weinstein, was exposed by the New York Times for a long list of sexual misconduct allegations. He was the first to fall, but he was not the last. 201 powerful men were named and brought down as a result of this movement. While it was shocking to hear them named, as someone who's also a victim, I wasn't really surprised. What was surprising to me was the Me Too hashtag, where women and men came forward to share their stories of harassment, abuse, and assault so candidly on social media I literally could not read any of them without crying. For a time there, most men I knew were terrified of being named. For me, it was a very strange time. On the one hand, I was so happy to see women finally coming forward to say, hey, this kind of behavior isn't okay. But at the same time, I was really disheartened to see the sheer amount of women who had been through what I went through and kept silent. At the end of the day, I am happy it happened. There are major strides being made and people are treating others with more respect now, which is not something anyone can argue with. We all deserve a little more respect in our lives. And at number 1, we have Donald Trump is elected.
Right now, a historic moment. We can now project the winner of the presidential race. CNN projects Donald Trump wins the presidency.
In November of 2016, Donald Trump defeats Hillary Clinton and all odds against him to become the 45th president of the United States. He secured 270 electoral votes but lost the popular vote. It was the most divisive election in modern history, and this presidency remains the source of much political unrest in the world. Almost every major news outlet predicted that he would lose. He was mocked heavily in the media, but Trump was really popular among Republican voters for his unscripted speeches, his policies on international trade and immigration, and his promises to restore the US to its former glory. Hashtag Make America Great Again. Alright guys, there you have it. There were so many stories I would have liked to have mentioned, but I did my best to mention the most impactful, at least for me. Obviously it's subjective, but if you want a part 2, let me know in the comments. For now, I'm gonna wrap this one up with some comment features. Horse Queen said, I want to see the behind the cameras of InformOverload or top 10 bloopers of InformOverload. Top 10 bloopers of InformOverload would literally be the shortest video ever. It would just be me burping in succession. And at number 10, burp. And at number 9, Yuchi has said Charlotte is so pretty in red. Thank you. Daniel Horn said in England Trump is another word for fart, and I think that people should talk about that more. You said it, not me. I mean, I said it, but I was just saying what you was saying. That is it for me. Thanks for watching. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want more, and I'm gonna see you in a future IO video. The 2010s were a long decade. And his promises to restore the US to its former glory. And his promises to restore the US to its former glory. And his promises to restore the US. Oh my god, why do I say glowy? Like, why? Glory,